London, 1348. A corpse hauler named Thomas sleeps sitting upright against a wall because lying down meant you might not wake up. The Black Death had a pattern, horizontal bodies by morning. That fear? It never left. Your bed, elevated, rectangular, that padded headboard you lean against, isn't some natural evolution. It's a Frankenstein of Renaissance paranoia, Victorian sexual surveillance, and Cold War sleep deprivation experiments. Your bed isn't designed for rest. It's designed to make you forget what sleep actually is. There's one feature on your bed right now, something you touch every single night, that exists solely because of a 1950s military experiment. I'll show you which one. But first, you need to understand the war that created it. Here's what nobody tells you about insomnia. It might not be a disorder. It might be your body trying to remember what sleep actually was. For roughly 200,000 years, humans didn't go to bed. We collapsed. And, more importantly, we woke up, deliberately, in the middle of the night. Hunter-gatherers operated on what historians call segmented sleep. You'd sleep for 4 hours, what they called first sleep, then wake up around midnight, completely alert. You'd sit by the fire, talk, have sex, check on the kids, stare at the stars. Then, after an hour or two, you'd drift into second sleep until dawn. This wasn't insomnia, this was normal. Your brain had a biological intermission. And where did this happen? On piles of grass, animal skins, communal heaps where bodies pressed together for warmth. No mattress, no frame, just you, the ground, and whatever kept you from freezing. Sleep wasn't private. It wasn't scheduled. It was a group survival strategy. Then the Industrial Revolution invented the 8-hour workday, and suddenly waking up at 2 a.m. made you unproductive. Factories needed synchronized labor, so doctors pathologized segmented sleep, called it a disorder, prescribed pills. Your 3 a.m. panic attacks? That might just be your DNA trying to start second sleep in a world that no longer allows it. Now let's jump forward to medieval Europe, where sleep got even stranger. If you were a peasant in 1200s England, you didn't lie down to sleep. You sat upright on a wooden bench, back against the wall, maybe a cloak bundled under your head. Why? Because lying flat was the position of a corpse. It was a death rehearsal. Superstition? Maybe, but also practical. Lying down in a cold, damp cottage with no heating meant fluid pooling in your lungs. Pneumonia by morning. Even the nobility, people who could afford actual beds, didn't stretch out. Their beds were 4, maybe 5 feet long. You slept semi-reclined, propped up on pillows, knees bent. The idea of lying horizontal for 8 hours? That was sloth, gluttony of rest. The church frowned on it. Then came 1348, the Black Death. Suddenly, beds became quarantine zones. If you were sick, you were isolated to your bed, and that bed became your tomb. The canopy bed, that fancy curtained frame you see in castles, it wasn't about luxury. It was a mosquito net for miasma. Medieval doctors believed disease traveled through bad air, so you slept in a fabric cage to keep it out. Spoiler, it didn't work. But the design stuck, because once the plague passed, the canopy bed became a status symbol. You survived the pestilence? Flaunt it. Sleep in a monument. But here's the twist. Beds, as we know them, didn't start with comfort in mind. They started with death. The ancient Egyptians built the first beds, elevated platforms with headrests and footrails. Sound familiar? Look at a sarcophagus, same design. The bed was a rehearsal for the afterlife. You practiced lying in your tomb every single night. The Romans took this concept and made it decadent. The lectus, a dining bed, was where elites reclined to eat, sleep, and conduct business. Lying down became a flex, a power move. I'm so wealthy, I don't even stand. And that's when sleep stopped being about survival and became about status. The bed transformed from a survival tool into a piece of theater, a stage where you performed wealth, health, piety. It was no longer about rest, it was about what rest said about you. But then, a king decided to take that performance to a level so absurd, so grotesque, that it would redesign every bedroom in the Western world. And his bed? It cost more than a warship. Versailles, 1701. The doors to the king's bedchamber swing open at 8 a.m. sharp. Over 100 noblemen flood in, dukes, ambassadors, bishops, and they stand in silence, watching a man wake up. Louis XIV, the Sun King. And this? This is the Lever du Roi, the rising of the king, a daily ceremony where the most powerful man in Europe performs the act of waking. Attendants pull back velvet curtains. He stretches, yawns, scratches himself, and every man in that room is calculating. Did he look at me? Did I get closer to the bed than the Duke? Because proximity to the royal bed equals power. Louis didn't invent this pageantry for fun. Sleep is vulnerability. It's the one time a king can't defend himself. Assassinations happen in the dark. So, Louis made his bed public, a stage, an architectural fortress, 12 feet tall, gold leaf covering every inch, velvet imported from Genoa, embroidered silk curtains that took artisans 2 years to complete. The bed alone cost 250,000 livres, enough to buy 3 warships. The man behind this monstrosity? André Charles Boulle, furniture designer to the king. He didn't make beds, he made propaganda. Every gilded cherub, every inlaid panel was a message. This king cannot be touched. Even in sleep, he reigns. But here's the genius. By making sleep a public spectacle, Louis neutralized the threat. You can't poison a man when 100 witnesses watch him drink his morning wine. You can't stab a king when the entire court is inches from his pillow. The bed became a weapon, and every aristocrat in Europe copied it. Fast forward 150 years, Victorian England. The bed is no longer about assassination. It's about something far more dangerous: sex. The 1800s brought a moral panic so severe it redesigned marriage itself. Doctors, clergy, social reformers, they all agreed sleeping in the same bed as your spouse was dangerous, not for disease, for lust. Enter the twin bed, invented in the 1870s and marketed as a health innovation. Separate beds promote better air circulation. Individual mattresses prevent the spread of illness. Lies, all of it. The real agenda? Sexual control. If husbands and wives slept in separate beds, they'd have sex less. And sex, according to Victorian moralists, was a disgusting necessity, tolerated only for procreation. The mastermind behind this crusade? Dr. John Harvey Kellogg. Yes, the cornflakes guy. Kellogg wasn't just a cereal magnate. He was a sexual tyrant. He ran a sanitarium in Battle Creek, Michigan, where he prescribed his vision of pure living. And sleep was ground zero. His recommendations: metal bed frames. Wood was too sensual, too warm. Metal was cold, clinical, virtuous. Hard mattresses, soft surfaces led to soft thoughts. A firm mattress kept your spine rigid and your morals rigider. Separate rooms for spouses, not just separate beds, separate rooms. He genuinely believed married couples should only meet for procreation, then return to their individual chambers. Kellogg preached this from every pulpit, wrote books, gave lectures. He convinced an entire generation that sharing a bed was degenerate. The irony. Kellogg never consummated his own marriage, not once. His wife adopted all their children. The man who redesigned the marital bedroom died a virgin at 91. But his influence stuck. Twin beds became the default for middle-class couples. Advertisers pushed them as modern, hygienic, respectable. Sears catalogs featured separate beds in every bedroom set. Hollywood enforced the twin bed code in films. Even married couples on screen had to sleep apart. The bed had become a tool of social engineering. And then capitalism took the final step. Heinrich Westphal invents the first coil spring mattress in Germany. For the first time in human history, sleep could be mass-produced. By 1900, beds were standardized: twin, full, queen, king. These sizes weren't designed for human bodies, they were designed for factories. Here's the con. Your bed size is based on the width of textile mill looms from 1910. The double bed was 54 inches wide because that's how wide the machines could weave cotton sheets without retooling. When demand grew for bigger beds, they didn't redesign the looms. They just made the bed 60 inches, queen, or 76 inches, king, and convinced you it was an upgrade. Your bed isn't ergonomic, it's economical for the manufacturer. The bed had gone from a death rehearsal to a royal stage to a capitalist product line. But the biggest transformation was still coming, because in 1939, a war would break out, and the military would ask a very simple question: how little sleep does a human actually need? The answer would redesign your bedroom forever. USS Gato, somewhere in the Pacific. A submarine crew of 80 men, 72 bunks. Do the math. They called it hot bunking. You work an 8-hour shift, crawl into a bed still warm from the guy who just left, sleep, wake up, and someone else takes your spot. The sheets never cool. The mattress never forgets the shape of the last body. Submariners slept in rotations, 4 hours max, often less. The Navy had a problem. Exhausted sailors make mistakes. Mistakes sink submarines. So they asked a question that would reshape civilian sleep forever. How little sleep can a human survive on? Enter Dr. Nathaniel Kleitman, a Russian-born physiologist at the University of Chicago, the man who would become the father of sleep science. The Navy gave him funding, carte blanche. One mission: break sleep. Kleitman didn't trust lab rats. He tested on himself. In 1938, he and a research assistant descended into Mammoth Cave, Kentucky, 140 feet underground. No sunlight, no clocks. They lived there for 32 days, attempting to force their bodies onto a 28-hour day. It failed spectacularly. The human body, Kleitman discovered, runs on an internal cycle, what he called the ultradian rhythm. 90-minute loops. Your body wants to sleep in 90-minute increments. 4 cycles per night equals 6 hours. 5 cycles equals 7.5 hours. The 8-hour workday? Arbitrary. The 8-hour sleep recommendation? Equally arbitrary. But the military didn't want science. They wanted compliance. They wanted sailors who could function on 3 hours. Soldiers who could skip sleep entirely. So they ignored Kleitman's findings and funded new research: stimulants, rotating light exposure, sleep deprivation conditioning. The submarine bunks got thinner, harder. The goal wasn't rest, it was speed. Get in, lose consciousness, get out. And when the war ended, that philosophy didn't stay in the Navy. It came home. 1950s, post-war America. The defense industry needed a new customer base. Factories that built bomber seats and tank interiors retooled for civilian life. And one material in particular made the jump: polyurethane foam. It was invented for NASA, astronaut seats specifically, not for comfort, for impact absorption. If a rocket exploded on launch, foam could distribute G-forces evenly, maybe keep your organs from pulping. But NASA's foam was expensive, experimental. The mattress industry saw an opportunity. In 1951, 3 companies, Sealy, Serta, and Simmons, held a private meeting in Chicago. No public records, no press, but the outcome reshaped the entire industry. They formed what antitrust lawyers would later call a cartel. Not illegal, technically, just coordinated. Their strategy: standardize bed sizes nationwide, kill the custom furniture makers. If every bed is the same size, every sheet fits every bed. Mass production, maximum profit, introduce planned obsolescence. They invented the myth that mattresses expire after 7 years. No medical basis, no structural reason, just marketing. A mattress can last 20+ years if the foam doesn't break down. But they started using cheaper foam that would break down. On purpose, patent meaningless terms. Orthopedic support, posturepedic, spinal alignment. None of these terms have legal definitions. The FTC tried to regulate them in 1975. The mattress lobby crushed the effort. To this day, you can call any mattress orthopedic without a single doctor's approval. They also invented the sag test. You know, the thing where you push down on a mattress in the showroom to test its firmness. Total nonsense. That motion has zero correlation to sleep quality. But it feels scientific. It gives buyers a ritual, a way to justify spending $2,000 on foam and springs that cost $150 to manufacture. The markup? Roughly 900%. Mattress stores became the used car lots of furniture, high-pressure sales. This model is discontinued next week. We can only hold this price for today. And because you can't comparison shop, every brand uses different model names for the same product. You have no idea what anything actually costs. The mattress industry became a protected racket, and it all started with military surplus foam. But the military wasn't done with sleep yet. The CIA launches MK Ultra, a covert program testing mind control, interrogation techniques, and yes, sleep deprivation. They wanted to know, how long can you keep someone awake before they break? Turns out, 11 days. After that, you experience hallucinations, paranoia, psychosis. You'll confess to anything, true or not. But there was a side project buried in the research, a question: how do you make someone fall asleep faster? Prisoners of war, defectors, interrogation subjects, they often couldn't sleep even when allowed. Too much stress, adrenaline, trauma. So the CIA funded research into sleep acceleration. And one of the solutions? The adjustable bed base. You know the ones. Marketed now as luxury items. Zero gravity position. Elevate your legs for circulation. Sold for $3,000 plus at mattress stores. That zero gravity position, it was designed to prevent stress-induced psychosis in POWs. Elevating the legs and head slightly reduces cortisol, lowers heart rate, tricks the body into parasympathetic mode. It works, but it was never meant for comfort. It was meant for compliance, to make broken men sleep so you could break them again tomorrow. And now? Now you buy it with financing at Mattress Firm. The bed had become a machine, a tool of efficiency, of control. But the final evolution was still coming, because in the 2000s, the bed would stop being furniture. It would become a computer. 8 Sleep launches a mattress cover with built-in sensors. Sleep Number introduces Sleep IQ technology. The pitch is seductive. Optimize your sleep, track your recovery, wake up smarter. Except the bed isn't working for you. You're working for the bed. Here's what these smart beds actually track: heart rate variability, respiratory rate, bedroom temperature, time spent in REM, how often you toss, when you leave the bed, when you return, biometric data, streaming 24/7 to cloud servers. And here's what the privacy policies, those 47-page documents nobody reads, actually say. Sleep Number, for example, reserves the right to share your data with third-party partners. Who are these partners? The policy doesn't specify, but buried in their terms of service is a clause about workplace wellness programs. Translation: your employer can buy access to your sleep data. They can know you slept 4 hours last night. They can know your heart rate spiked at 3 a.m. And when your performance review comes around, they can decide you're not optimizing recovery. 8 Sleep's policy is even more brazen. They explicitly state they may share data with insurance providers to help determine risk profiles. Read that again. Your mattress can rat you out to your insurance company. Sleep apnea episodes, higher premiums, irregular sleep schedule, denied coverage. The bed becomes a witness, a snitch in your own home, and you paid $3,000 for the privilege. But let's talk about that price tag. The average American now spends over $3,000 on a mattress. Luxury models? $5,000, $8,000. Some go for $15,000. The markup? Around 900%. A mattress that retails for $3,000 costs roughly $300 to manufacture. Foam, springs, fabric. It's cheap, absurdly cheap. Here's the dirty secret. Luxury mattresses use the same foam as budget models. The only difference? The cover fabric. A $5,000 Tempur-Pedic and a $800 Zenith memory foam mattress often contain chemically identical polyurethane. Same density, same composition. I spoke with a former factory worker, anonymized for legal reasons, who spent a decade manufacturing mattresses for multiple brands. Same assembly line, same materials. The only thing that changed? The logo stitched on top. We'd make a batch for brand X in the morning, he told me, then switch the label and make the luxury version in the afternoon. Same foam, same springs, different price tag. The mattress industry has perfected the art of manufacturer differentiation. They give every model a unique name so you can't comparison shop. Pillow Soft Supreme Plus versus Cloud Comfort Elite. You have no idea if they're the same product. And the sales tactics? Pure psychological warfare. This model is being discontinued. I can only offer this price today. Let me talk to my manager. It's theater. The manager isn't approving anything. The discount was built into the price from the start. But here's where it gets darker. Modern beds are getting lower. Platform beds, minimalist frames 6 inches off the ground, Scandinavian design. It looks sleek, intentional. But low beds are harder to get out of, especially as you age, and the harder it is to get out of bed, the longer you stay in it. The longer you stay, the guiltier you feel. I overslept again. I'm unproductive. I need help. So you buy sleep aids, melatonin gummies, weighted blankets, white noise machines, apps, subscriptions. The bed isn't furniture anymore. It's an ecosystem, a platform for selling you solutions to problems it created. And you wonder why you're still tired. Remember the promise? One feature on your bed exists solely because of a military experiment. Look behind you right now, that padded rectangle you lean against while scrolling your phone. The headboard, 1950s, Korean War. American soldiers returning with severe PTSD. Night terrors so violent they'd thrash in their sleep, slamming their heads against barrack walls. The Army Medical Corps funded research. How do you prevent self-inflicted head trauma during nightmares? The solution? Padded barriers at the head of military cots. It worked. Soldiers stopped waking up with concussions. But here's the thing. The padding wasn't just physical protection. It was psychological. Humans have a primal instinct, encoded from 200,000 years of sleeping in caves, to position themselves against a wall while sleeping. It's a vulnerability thing. You can't be attacked from behind if your back is to stone. The headboard hijacks that instinct. It's a fake cave wall. It serves no ergonomic purpose. You don't need it for spinal support. That's a myth. You don't need it to keep pillows in place. That's marketing. You need it because your lizard brain thinks you're safer with something solid behind your skull. Modern headboards are elaborate lies. Tufted leather, reclaimed wood, velvet upholstery. They cost $500, $1,000, $2,000, and they exist because traumatized soldiers couldn't stop punishing themselves in their sleep. That's what you're leaning against right now. So, what does sleep actually need? Science has the answer, and it's depressing. Studies from sleep research labs, actual peer-reviewed data, not mattress company propaganda, show humans sleep best on firm, cool, slightly elevated surfaces, not memory foam, not pillow tops, a thin mat, maybe 2 inches of padding, room temperature, 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Cooler than you think. No headboard, no massive frame, no adjustable base. The perfect bed is closer to a Japanese futon on a tatami mat than anything you'd find at a mattress store. But you'll never buy that because the bed stopped being about sleep decades ago. It's about identity, status. The bed is where you perform rest for an audience of nobody. You buy the $4,000 mattress because it says you care about wellness. You buy the smart bed because you're optimizing. You buy the king-size frame because you've made it. And every single night, you climb into a piece of furniture designed by war, sold by cartels, and monitored by algorithms. Your bed looks like that because it's not designed for sleep. It's designed to make you buy things, to track you, to keep you tired enough to work, but rested enough to consume. You're not sleeping in a bed. You're sleeping in a transaction. The camera pulls back. The bedroom fades. The bed sits empty under showroom lights. A price tag dangles from the headboard. $3,499. Now go look at your bed. Really look and ask yourself, who designed this and why?